Talk about you. Arjan. In the past weeks, we've been looking at some different topics, from balance, using your back, balancing your front and back. We've been looking at physical body, and I would like to stay close to the principles. There was a very interesting question in the WhatsApp group about the alignment during the Katata section in the Dojo. And there's actually a very nice nugget of information in there that I want to look at today. So we're going to start with stretching, and then we're going to work with the bottom in different ways to show what the alignment is like. So let's start with the warming up. Keep a little bit apart. Stretch up. And follow your breath down at your own pace. Do it slow. Stretch up and over. Okay. And as you do this, while you stretch up with your upper body, but your lower body wants to go down. Yeah. So it's not just a bend, there's more happening. Don't forget to breathe. Okay. Hands wide, crosswise. Go as low as you can go. And change. 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 And back to the middle again. Okay. Now rotate your shoulders. One way. Okay, other way around to the front. Now from the center, you start moving to the side. Arms are relaxed, so like tendons, they just swing. And now allow the weight of your arms to free up your shoulders to get into this move. And relax your ankles, knees. Look over your shoulder as you turn. Okay. Now the hips. Move them in big circles. Again, keep your feet on the ground. Knees are flexible. So they can there from Thursday with me. Other way around. Feet together. And now with your knees very small circles. Change direction. Okay. Feet apart. Go low. Change. Change. If you're less stiff than I am, you can actually lean into your front foot or use your back hand to put pressure on the knee you're sitting on the leg you're sitting on. So you're spreading it open a little bit more. Change. Okay. We're going to go into some simple rolling. If you have a place and you can sit down, please do so. And do this at your own pace. Just go back, side, there. And here also the hip movement is very important. You really switch sides there. And so keep in mind if you roll back on one side, change, and go back on the other side. This is more to massage the back than anything else. So do it slow. Nice one. Okay, you can all take a bokken. And we'll start with first Sabori, and we work from there. Just have a quick look to recap what we've been doing in the last week. Stay in the center, so not front, not back. in the middle, left and right, in the middle, up and down, in the middle, and keep your attention as well with yourself as with your surroundings. You still have a sensation in your back from the rolling, and keep it in your cuts. So do the booty at your own pace, and don't put any force in it, just a movement. At your own pace, on Erasmus. It's me. It's me. Oh, this is me doing it. So. Okay, very nice. Now, for the question that we had in the WhatsApp group was the alignment of the arms with the weapon. And we're going to be looking at Ken forms as well as Jo forms, but I'm going to use the Bokken because it has a few advantages. First, of course, it has a cutting edge, so you know which part to strike with. And the second part is the grip is oval, so within your hands, you will feel which direction the cutting edge is going. So it's easier to align your body behind the cutting edge, behind the striking part, rather than with a Jo. With a Jo, you can smuggle easily without knowing. So what you're looking for is if you open up your hand, which is your front hand. I'm not sure if you can see what I'm doing. Move a bit closer. If you open up your front hand, the base of your thumb, the really physical base of your thumb, should not be on top of the Jo or the can. Because then when you get an impact, it goes right into the base of the thumb and you'll damage your thumb. So you want to be a little bit over. You want to have the soft part, like the cushion, the mouse of your thumb. You want that on top. So you're holding it with your little finger. The top is over. And the backhand has exactly the same thing. And when you apply force to it, you can do that on a chair or a table or whatever, you feel that it goes not into your thumb, but it goes directly into your arm. So whenever you strike something and your hands are like this, the force will go into your system and not into the thumb, single part. So really for now, really pay attention when you make these cuts. Your hands are in this position, both the front and the back. So really take all the force out of the cut, just let the weapon fall here. I'm lowering my center, and the cut comes out. But really check your hand position, because we're going to be working with those. So a few more. First of all.
Arjan, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Your little finger of your left hand, is that on the bokken or behind it?
On the bokken. Who is asking?
On.
I can show you. No, it's always on the bokken. Because
Okay.
your little finger, let's take this one. Yeah. Your little finger, and these are the ones.
Yeah, that
Little
grip.
fingers are the ones on both hands that are the strongest in the grip. And those are the ones that really roll it into the grip. So your index finger and your thumb, they're quite relaxed on the grip. It's the bottom two, or maybe the bottom three, that are actually do the holding. And the reason why you put the thumb over is just to close off the gap in between, because this it will rotate out easily, even when there's force. So you need to close it, but it's not that you're squeezing it, and it's certainly not that you're losing the last finger, which is the biggest and most important finger on the bottom. You see what I'm doing?
Yeah, I can see it, but I saw some discussion on Facebook that the finger should be behind.
No,
So
absolutely.
when you trust that it blocks yeah. Oh, this is clear.
Your hands are always on the weapon. There's no discussion here for me. This is good.
This is the grip. Yeah.
This is bad.
Yeah.
These are really the most important ones. So this is.
And they should be on the weapon.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Arjan, I have questions too.
Okay.
First about the position of the elbows. So
yes.
I try to leave them pointing forwards, not too much to the outside.
I'm going to find you, Sasha. You're there. Yes.
So I'm trying to when I raise to let them point more forwards than to the side, and that makes me feel the stretching of my body makes me feel more like compressed when I point them forward. So my question is about the stretching of the whole body when you raise. So when you are here, now I feel that I'm completely stretched to the ground and to the bottom. I don't know if this is right or if I should be like more in the back foot.
No, that's
Oh, thanks. So what's right? I don't know what's right, to completely stretch or to be more compressed.
there is you can stretch because it's a balance thing. So from here you're in between your feet, and the top half and the bottom half are equally compressed or condensed, whatever you want to call it. So you're in the middle here. The moment you go up here, regardless of how close your feet are, you're in between your feet here. So you're not on the back foot.
Yeah.
On both of your feet at the moment. And this is not up as far as you can. It's in a comfortable position because you're following the structure of your body.
Okay.
And so it's not like you need to be stretched out there. You need to be where your body allows you to be. And then the moment you move forward and your knees are free, you can sink and you can move forward into the cut. So it's a matter of relaxation.
Okay.
And what you're asking about the elbows, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about in a lot of different forms, is when you go up here, you don't have to put your elbows forcefully forward because you'll start feeling stretching on the back of your shoulders, maybe in your back also, maybe in your neck a little bit. So it's not that they're wide open. It's not that they're here, that your nose sticks out from your elbows. That's too much. But they can be where they're comfortable. You don't have to make them go forward. they start going forward when you make the cut, because the sword follows the elbows. But when you're in the high position, your elbows are relaxed. And then when you cut, if you just look at my elbows, they start to eat the weapon.
Naturally come together.
Yes.
Okay.
Is that an answer for you?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. So to bring it back to the group, that's actually the key part of today. One of the two. One is the alignment of the hands on the weapon. It's always like this, but when the impact zone is the cutting edge, that's why we're using a bokken. Your hands are on top, so you could lean on top of your weapon if you need to. That means that the impact is going into your system and not into the base of your thumb or any other isolated part. The second part is that any cut that you make comes from the center lowers, the center steers the elbows, and the elbows lead the direction that you're going in. So the moment that you go from Sho Manuchi, now we do the Sho Manuchi cut, it goes straight. So you feel that the elbows, they're coming in just a fraction, that they're leading. Now we go to Yoko Manuchi, which means that the final position, the feet are a little bit further apart. This is Shoman. A little bit further apart, and the hips are just ever so slightly turned more, but that means that your whole upper structure is also slightly different. So you make the cut. There. So now you're in the Yoko Manuchi cut. It came from the side down. So the cutting edge is not pointing down, the cutting edge is pointing slightly to the side. For most of you, this is not breaking news. But what is interesting is that your whole structure of the hands, it doesn't change, it just follows the body. And in this, it makes sense, but we're going to go into more advanced parts, and you'll see that it still stays the same. So for now, make the cut to Yoko Manuchi, still the elbows lead, and you want to have your hands still on top of the weapon. Here. There. And make it a cut without, and you can choose both footworks, doesn't matter. In this case, I'm moving my back foot. You can move your front foot. The point is that you feel the difference between a Sho Manuchi cut and a Yoko Manuchi cut. And in this case, if you follow the weapon, it runs outside of my body here. Runs to the hip rather than to the center. Yeah? So make it a Yoko Manuchi now. Here.
Nice.
So you bring it up, cut under an angle. Onegaishimasu.
Hey. Up. Hey. Hey. Up. Hey.
That's it.
Hey.
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 Hey. Hey. Hey.
Right. Right.
Hey. 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 Hey.
Hey.
Hey.
Hey.
Hey.
Hey.
Hey. Hey. Hey. Up. Hey. Hey.
Hey.
Hey.
So there's a lot happening in your whole system when you move from a Sho Manucci strike to Yoko Manucci strike. Essentially, your footwork changes, your hip position is different, angle at which you're cutting is different. But the one thing that stays the same is the hand position on the weapon, because the point of impact doesn't change, and the fact that the elbows are leading also doesn't make a difference. If we would go to second subordinate, that's not where I want to go right now, but you're from a high position, there is a step involved. There's a big turn of the hips, and again, elbows are leading, hand follows. So what I want to do now is to move to some Jo techniques, but we're going to stay with the Ken, and we're actually going to go into second subordinate, but we're not going to make the cut forward. We're going to on the spot turn there. I think you'll recognize it. So from here, on the spot, you go into second subordinate, and on the spot, you make the turn, and you make a low cut to the back. From here, second subordinate, this is from here, there. So the aim here is actually the knee of somebody who's standing behind you. This is still a relaxed position. And my shoulders are relaxed, my elbows are relaxed, so my elbows are not pointing forward, they're pointing at where they're comfortable. The whole system changes, and there's a low cut there. Yeah, at your own pace. There is one. It's from the Hasogaishi series and Jo Suburi.
60?
Hey. 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 Up.
Hey guys, don't make a full turn when you go back. This is from the Hasogaishi series here, where you turn back there. So you're not turned in all the way. It's a cut from the side, which comes from the spiral of the Jo. So when you do the same movement with the Ken, it's the same feeling. You move into high kamai here, and now when you turn, I'm not completely turned in. My footwork is sideways. It's almost as if I've done it ski. So there's a very strange spiral going on here. It's not this. That's too far in. So this position, there. Not this. Yeah? Onegaishimasu. Two more.
Hey. 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 Up.
Hey.
Hey. Hop. Hey.
No, that's me, Simonetta. Just continue. It's me.
Hey.
You're being watched. You leave your feet in the same position when you make the turn.
Hey.
Here you just, that's more like it. Really in the same position. You turn on the spot, but your feet don't move left or right. That's better. Try to show my feet for a moment.
Hey.
I'm not sure if you guys can see this properly, but I'm moving into the high kamae. And then when I turn, boom, this is all that's happening. So here in the corner, you see my can coming down. That's really not a big step. You change feet, and the whole pivoting happens in the same foot position. It's just that your feet move back. It's not that you're starting to step out or anything. It's really on the same line. I'm just cutting 180 degrees behind me. Yeah, few more, then we move on to the next.
So it's a kaiten, right?
It's a kaiten?
Kaiten.
I don't know what is a kaiten.
Footwork is kaiten, no? You don't call it like this?
I don't call it kaiten. I call it a turn.
I mean, the footwork is similar to Zengekiri, right?
Yes. Yes.
It's just turning on the spot.
It's the first Tai Sabaki.
Yeah.
Ah, that's what you mean, kaiten. Yeah, and the next one is kaiten.
Kaiten, yes.
Yes. Good morning, Arjan. Yes, it is.
Arjan,
Yes.
Hey.
are you able to hold your can in the same position like this when you're down? With me, it slices something out.
You can hold it the same way.
Yeah, but it slices out like this. Are you able?
You want to be behind it. This is a good one. Okay, look. I'll pick myself up again. Because this is exactly the core of this class. I saw the mailman walk by.
Distract.
So this is what you can do to check if your handwork is correctly.
Yeah.
It goes for all of these exercises. You cut back, you don't move your hands, and you move straight back into kenkamai. If your hands are the same as always, you did the right thing.
Okay.
If you make a cut and you change something, you move to kenkamai, and all of a sudden your hands are a bit off, you're not in the right place. Because whenever there's impact, you always want to be in the same position.
Okay.
So even with this big turn, and we're going to move on to the next one, which is even bigger, you want to be exactly there, without changing your hands one bit.
Does that mean I'm not going straight down?
It means you're, what does it mean?
I make like a kind of bow, I think.
Hang on, I'm looking at you again. Say it again. Look, show it again.
Now it's out.
Yeah, but it's there. It's nearly there.
Yeah, it's in the
You
way.
can feel that when you make this turn, when you make the cut, that goes for everybody. You really want to be behind your can. In this case, it's can, as if you're making any other can strike. So you want to be behind. So if you need to change something in your upper body structure, in order to be behind it just a little bit more, do it, because that's what you want.
Okay, I'll search. Thank you.
And we'll go on to the next one. For myself again, and this is the biggest one, the biggest one. Again, you go to second suburi, and I'll show the footwork a bit later, but you make a big turn all the way around. It's the big swooping motion. And again, this comes from the jaw. So you move up, and now you turn there. And for yourself, the moment that you move back to TAE, don't change your hand. You check if they're still where they were when you started. There you go, high, and now there. High, and now this is like a 270-degree turn. And whenever you move back to TAE, don't change your hand position, just check if it's still where it started. It should be. Yeah? Onegimasu. Ushiro barai.
It's in the backhand.
Hey.
So because you're using a bokken, you have to check up of the hands whether they're still in the right position. And because the grip of the can is oval, so you really feel if it slots in the way you're used to. And you have the directionality because you get the cutting edge. So the moment when you start to do this here, and it starts to come sideways a bit, as if you're hitting with the side of the can, you're not in the angle that you want to be. You want to be behind the cutting edge when you come down. So when something stands somewhere in the arc, you always want to hit it with the cutting edge. That's your angle. So you need to rotate in a way that you're behind the cutting edge. And what helps, that's the second point. So the first one is your hand position. It doesn't change. The second point is that your elbows are always leading. So in this case, the moment that you start to turn, if you look at this elbow, it comes in. And this one is leading the can all the way through. So the left hand is guiding it, and the right hand is correcting, steering it. So the weapon follows the elbow. So try to see if you can feel that too in your own motion. The moment you start to turn here from the center guides the elbows. And there you go. Yeah, a few more. Onegimasu.
Manchmal. Hey.
That's it, Sarina. So that's it.
Hey.
Very nice. Okay. So this alignment, where your hands are always in a certain way directed at the point of impact, as with the can, and the fact that your elbows are always leading, you'll find that in all the other movements as well. It's one of the principles. It stays the same. So for instance, if we use the can, and it's a bit too short fit, but for this one, again, the elbow starts to lead, and the cutting edge of the can is actually making the motion. And then when you move back online, you see that your hands should be in the right position with the little fingers positioned in the right way and open. So I can start, I forgot the name for now. It's a Saturday morning thing. From here, so from here, you put it on your shoulders. You put it on your shoulders, you rotate. But it's not just the rotation where it starts to swing out. Your elbow is going to lead the way of the cut. So out of this whole swing, the hips guide the elbow, guide the weapon. And the can should make a cut through the air as if the cutting edge is leading all the time. We start in a very short ski kamai, upload it, and from here you rotate, and your leading elbow is going to align with the weapon through the air there. And in the end, it can flip as you're used to. So from here, ski kamai, up your shoulders, elbows leading, weapon follows. Yeah? Anesnas. Tate tomanch.
Arjan.
Somebody dealer? Yeah.
So we're supposed to cut our hands, right? Because this should come right like this, or are we gonna keep it the way around?
It's not a bokken. It's a training aid.
Okay, fine.
Okay. It's just the great thing about the bokken is that it has the cutting edge. It's very clear which direction should hit your opponent.
Okay.
The directionality is easier to check than with the Joe, because the Joe is round, so you can smuggle. With this, you can't smuggle.
Right. Thank you.
Arjan,
Yes.
I have a question which is related to Dila's question. If I use the bokken
Yes.
and after I swing, I could turn. So my hand is looking like this and not like this. So when I end like this, I will cut my hand. But if I swing and turn,
Yes. It actually lands in the correct way. But just to be clear, this is not a can technique. I'm just adjusting a Joe technique with a can to highlight the alignments that you have.
If you would have a Joe, would you turn anyway?
Yes, absolutely, because that's what happens with your wrist at the last part. So this part here, when you go through the air, you can't see me. Hang on, sorry. I'll take this one. There. So when you move through the air here, the moment of impact you're still behind, and then the moment when all the power is out of the move, that's when it switches into this position. Hand is still right there. It doesn't change, it doesn't move or anything. So you come behind, elbow, weapon, impact, move through, and then the hand flips over.
Okay.
Mhm.
One of the problems with this one is that when you look, especially at beginners, when you see a seminar, there's a lot of this switch thing is happening at the far end right here, and that's not where you want it to be. You want it to lead all the way through, all the way until it's almost at your side, and then you allow it to pass by, and then the stress is off your wrist. Then you can do it. But the hand position doesn't change; it just switches.
Yeah.
But then when you move back, it's right there again. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Okay. Time is flying again. Yeah. So these are things that you can play with at your own time also. And the nice thing about the Bokken is because it's shorter, you have less trouble with your surroundings. Right? You can actually do the Joe movement, but you need to adjust them a bit. Then Katate Gedangaishi. It would go from here, it would go down, and then you would go into the motion. We just start here. So you have both of your hands at the end of your ken. But again, in the same way, this is kind of a reverse grip. The same way that you have the little finger, second finger, you close it off. This is the same feeling as if you would be here with your ken. It's just the other way around. And this one too. So the alignment, again, is the same. From the side. And now as you move your hips, as you move through, now your elbow is behind it, pushing the ken, but the elbow is still leading, and the point of impact is still the cutting edge of the ken. So there's no rotation in it. You can really feel that with the ken, you should hit the side of the head. And then you have to flip if you want to do it. But the main point for me now is you start low. So you start here. Your feet are quite far apart. Your ken is around your back hip and your hand to the end of your ken. You move in. Your whole upper body moves in. Your elbows drive the ken. And the way the ken moves through space is really with the cutting edge leading. So whatever you hit, you're hitting it with the cutting edge. From here, yeah. The turn is again at the high point when all the power is gone from you. Yeah, Arjan. Katate Gedangaishi. And if you were in Thursday's class with Andrea, this is again the movement that she was working on also, this big twist in the hips.
I have a question.
Yes.
So for how long do you keep both hands in contact with the weapon? This is a one-handed strike or two-handed strike?
For me, it's the two-handed strike.
Really?
So, yeah. You have both hands behind it. You can really have the weight of your body behind it. The moment that you have a one-handed impact, you no longer have the weight or the pressure of the body behind it. It's just the weight of the weapon that delivers the impact. So the moment that you still have both hands, you can really impact and you can control also. And after the point of impact, or if you missed after where it would have been, that's when you switch.
Okay.
There's not really any point in doing it one-handed. You lose the drive of the second hand, you lose the weight of the body behind the blow, and you lose some accuracy in it here. You really think there.
Okay.
But
So you
go
keep.
ahead, Frank.
I'm with you with holding both hands in the beginning of the strike, but so you also have it at the point of contact, so to say,
Of
by
the
head.
point of impact, I have 2 hands, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Thanks.
Mooi bereikt. Ja.
I just want to show you the last one. We're really starting to run out of time. And that's Katate Hachi no Jogaishi. And usually the Jo would start here, except the Jo would be longer, so your hand would be here. In this case, it's all a bit lower. So I have it floating now. The moment that you move in, first of all, your hand is not aligned with your center now. So the first thing that you do is you align your hand with your center. The elbow is driving the weapon. The cutting edge comes forward. In the moment of impact, in this case it is one-handed impact, the elbow is nicely situated behind the weapon, behind the cutting edge, and in front of my center. The moment that you change the other way around. You do the same thing. This hand, the grip hand, it doesn't change position. It doesn't rotate or anything. It just stays where it is. The other hand guides the cutting edge to get in the direction where it needs to go, and then there's the switch. So these movements get more intricate, and the principle is more difficult to see, but it's definitely there. That from here, the moment that you rotate in, your hand finds the alignment in front of your center, your elbow is driving your weapon, and the cutting edge is moving towards your partner, or towards your opponent there. So here I am aligned with the hand. My elbow is behind it, cutting edge is the one that's hitting. And when you turn and move back, it's the same thing again. Same feeling. You just want to try. It's the most intricate of the last 3. There. There. And there. So the first part here is the most important. This one here. Yeah? Onegaishimasu. It's your own time.
お願いします。
Nee, dan ben ik Wouter. Ja, oké. Try to make the second one as horizontal or as flat as the first one. So that's it. It's like an infinity symbol that you're trying to write in the air.
This. Okay.
So, where am I? So we're running out of time. Just to recap what we've done today, and we've looked at the alignment of any weapon, Joe or Ken, with the body. Two main things. One thing is the position of the hands on the weapon. They're essentially always the same when you look at how they impact anything, whether the weapon is pointing forwards or pointing backwards. The way the hands are there, it's always the same, that the little fingers are the ones holding it. The soft part of the thumb, so not the bony part, but the soft part of the thumb is closing off the weapon. And this is something that you can check in every weapons form that you're doing. Even when you work with tanto, that's the way you hold the weapon. That's the most effective way of making a link with your body, with the external device, in this case a weapon. The second part is the alignment of the hip elbow with the weapon. When you look at the first subordinate, this again is the basis of it all. This is where it all comes together. So your hip lowers, pulls the elbows, pulls the weapon there. And the moment that you start to make any shortcut related movement in any direction, whether it's sideways, whether it's a big turn, whenever you come back to Ken Kamai, you should have this checkup that your hands are still in the right position. If you didn't sort of move them sideways a bit, or that you sort of did something with them. So it's a constant. It gets difficult when you start to move towards Joe, because the Joe you use in a slightly different way. But this basic aspect is still there. And when you're this one, you can still feel it, because essentially it's an elongated shortcut. So you can feel that the hands are still in the same position and the elbow is leading. But the moment when you start to go into the big turns, or for instance this one, it's reversed, it's different. It's not that it leads the Ken and the Ken follows. It's the opposite. It still leads the Ken, but it kind of pushes the Ken forward. So the sensation that you have in your body, in the whole structure, with the more basic forms, it's exactly the same in the more advanced forms. It's just more difficult to see. It's a little bit hidden in a way. But you're looking for the same thing. And the last one also, this one. Again, the elbow's right, and it's the same plane as the Ken. The same when you go back. If I lower, you see that the elbow, hand, and sword, they're kind of in the same plane. There's not a spiral with a kink in the hand or anything. It's all aligned there. That's what you can take from it. So the core is in the first body, as it is always, same as with Taino Heinto, but you can really take it to more and more advanced weapons forms. And the moment when you start to do all of this in motion, you'll start to notice that sometimes your hands want to adjust to be closer, for instance, which is fine. Now we have the two with right hand cut, left hand cut, but the essential alignment of the hands on the weapon, again, stay the same. Yeah? So that's what I'm hoping you can take away from today's class. It's a very basic point in weapons, but it's very helpful if you know what to look for, especially for beginners. So, are there any questions about today's class?